It's been an absolutely massive week in Brisbane, with the true extent of the Story Bridge's deterioration revealed, the announcement of upgrades to the bus network along with the traffic chaos we should expect before it's complete, and a bunch of other things you'll want to be across as we keep you up to date with what's going on across Greater Brisbane. Let's go. Perhaps one of the biggest updates is on the status of the Story Bridge, arguably Brisbane's most recognisable icon. By now, you'd probably know that the footpaths on either side of the bridge have been closed since just before ex-tropical cyclone Alfred paid us a visit, and that was over 10 weeks ago. Originally, Brisbane City Council said that as they had to close them for safety reasons during the extreme weather, they decided to keep them closed for a little longer to conduct safety assessments that would have to be done anyway, as they built their business case for the restoration efforts that would be needed. But that short time kept getting extended without any word on ballpark reopening dates, and now we know why. On Tuesday, the Lord Mayor, along with members of the Independent Story Bridge Restoration Committee, held a press conference where they revealed what had been going on behind the scenes. And it's worse than anybody had thought. The committee found that without a full restoration, the 85-year-old bridge would not be able to carry traffic within 20 years. The newer assessment also found that the condition of the footpath was far worse than previous reports had identified, with accelerated deterioration and, for the first time, evidence of the concrete having broken down to a level where the water is now leaking through. The scale of restoration needed exceeds the financial means of the City Council, so if the bridge is to be restored so that it can continue to be usable into the future, there'll have to be additional sources of funding. While the Council hopes for the state and federal governments to come to the rescue, the Restoration Committee also suggested alternative ways that funds could be raised, including introducing a levy or tolls for users of the bridge. The Lord Mayor has said that those would be a last resort only.
And so discussion of a tolling, obviously Nigel had to consider that as one of the options, but that's the option if we don't get funding from other levels of government.
Active transport advocates, including Councillor Trina Massey, have called for one lane of the bridge to be closed to traffic to allow cyclists, pedestrians and other active transport users to cross the bridge, but Shrina has ruled out doing so, citing negative impacts on traffic across the road network. This has drawn the ire of many Brisbane residents who say that it confirms that cars are still prioritised over alternative forms of transport in the city. He has, however, indicated that getting the footpath situation sorted would be treated as a matter of some urgency.
We want to get this done as quickly as possible. First stage will be getting the footpath repairs underway, and we're not waiting for the business case to start that work.
I've got the committee report here, and there's so much in here that I'm going to make a separate video dedicated to the full situation, and that will be out sometime next week, so make sure you subscribe and have all notifications enabled if you want to know all the juicy details. Another massive update is related to the Metro bus network, as well as the bus network in general. Finally, we have some more specific dates for upcoming improvements, but also a warning of what may be some pretty dramatic impacts to the smooth flow of traffic in the city over a period of about 6 weeks. The chaos we may see during the weekends will even see cars deliberately set on fire. I will explain, but first let's look at what we can expect and when. Firstly, the introduction of Metro bus line number 2, the M1. You may remember in a previous update video I said this. The M1 line was originally scheduled to begin operation in the second quarter of this year, but now the wording has changed to mid this year. That could still be the second quarter, so it's sounding like June may be when we're most likely to see the service start. Well, they've done exactly that, leaving it until the very last day they could to keep their word. The M1 running between 8 Mile Plains and Roma Street will start services on the 30th of June. The Metro services will run 24 hours on weekends and every 5 minutes on weekdays. But it's not just the Metro routes that will be upgraded. On the same day the M1 services start, there will be major changes to multiple bus routes, including 5 new routes, 4 new all-day routes on streets that currently only have peak period buses, 12 combined routes to eliminate duplicated services, and 3 divided routes that will now finish in the city, which aims to reduce delays due to congestion. A big change is that the network is being redesigned to have more routes where you may need to transfer, rather than taking a single bus the whole way. This should serve to reduce congestion on the busways, with more bus routes stopping at metro stops where passengers can then transfer to a metro bus for part of their journey. The changes are also expected to reduce the number of buses crossing Victoria Bridge by up to 30%. The area around the cultural centre has been a bottleneck for some time, so it's hoped that these changes will improve the flow of buses around that area as well as in the city. Another major change coming up that should also help with the flow of buses is the opening of the Adelaide Street Tunnel in September, which will allow metro bus services to increase to every 3 minutes. And here's where things get messy. Before the tunnel can be opened, there needs to be a process of testing and commissioning. This will run over 6 weeks from June the 21st to July 27 and may cause significant disruptions to the flow of traffic in the CBD, as all underground busways will need to be closed. That means any buses that run through City Hall King George Square Station and the busway under Queen Street Mall will have to run above ground for 6 weekends. So if you need to take a bus or even drive in the city from late June to late July, be prepared for a bit of chaos.
Some of the tests that we had to do inside that tunnel involve literally burning cars to test all the fire equipment and the smoke detectors and the deluge system. So there'll be some smoke coming out of that tunnel over the next few weeks as we head into June and July, and we'll commission that tunnel in September sometime. So residents need to be aware of that. What that means is that the network will undergo several major weekend closures, 5 or 6 weekends over that period, where the bus network will have diversions in place.
People wanting to take buses during that time are encouraged to check the TransLink website or app to see how their service will be impacted. Don't forget that some ways you can help the channel are to give the video a thumbs up, share the video with anyone who may want to stay up to date with all things Brisbane, and of course you can say thanks for the videos by buying me a coffee, or becoming a channel member to make sure I can keep making these updates, along with other Brisbane-themed videos. Of course, the federal election results are all in now, and we've seen a significant change in who is representing Greater Brisbane electorates in Canberra. Here's the electorates that are completely or partly in Greater Brisbane and which parties they were held by prior to the election. Let's focus on Greater Brisbane only, and here's how things stood before we voted. Of the 4 Green seats nationally, 3 were in Brisbane City. There were 5 seats held by Labor and 7 by the LNP coalition. After the election, things have changed quite dramatically, with Labor now holding 11 seats, the Greens losing all but 1 of theirs, and the LNP with just 3. While I'll leave any analysis to the experts, we can see that there's been a definite shift in how people are voting. I'm curious, if you changed your vote this election, what were the main reasons for that? Anyway, let's move on. You're being invited to nominate the best palmy, meat pie, and a bunch of other things for June 6, which will be Queensland Day, when the state will celebrate its 166th birthday. The All the Best campaign has been launched to celebrate Queenslanders' favourite produce and places with these 15 categories. One on the list is banh mi, and I'm preparing a short series reviewing Brisbane's best banh mi places, so if you've got any recommendations, definitely leave them in the comments. I've put a link to the All the Best campaign where you can nominate your favourite things in the video description. Let's get to some Brisbane-specific updates, starting with the announcement that the Australian leg of the Royal Edinburgh Military Tattoo's 75th anniversary tour will be held at Suncorp Stadium in 2026. The event has only been held in Australia 4 times since its inception in 1950, but this will be the first time it's held in Brisbane. Moving to some possible changes to the face of the city, with confirmation that the International Broadcast Centre for the 2032 Olympics will not be held on the riverfront land that was formerly Zizi Glass Factory. So the state government has begun exploring options for the use of the land that they purchased for $165 million in 2022. In cooperation with Brisbane City Council, along with other parties, they are considering housing, economic development, community infrastructure or parkland. Brisbane Lord Mayor Adrian Schreiner raised the vision Council has for the land as an extension of South Bank Parkland, with the area falling within their Kurilpa Riverfront Renewal Strategy, which aims to open up more public space and mixed-use development across South Brisbane and West End. Following the river around a little, and updated plans have been submitted for the proposed development of Howard Smith Wharves. A floating barge on the river that was previously approved will be replaced with what they call a Grand River Stair, a set of steps down to the river with tiered seating and garden beds. They've also made other changes, such as widening colonnade arches to improve cross-block sightlines and give more space for movement, a wider promenade, and extra lifts up to Bowen Terrace. A much larger project that has just been approved is the Nathan Salisbury Moorooka Neighbourhood Plan, which aims to deliver modernised streetscapes, new business and residential precincts, and better connectivity to transport in the corridor through the area. The Moorooka Magic Mile precinct has been earmarked for a major employment and lifestyle precinct, with plans to reinvigorate the area to encourage businesses and improve livability. They also plan to broaden Ipswich Road from 4 to 6 lanes and to add a new bikeway on the western side. There's also plans to preserve natural areas including Toohey Forest Park, Rocky Waterholes Creek and Moolabin Creek. The neighbourhood plan will come into effect on June 27. Moving to the other LGAs now, starting in Ipswich, home of Gout or Gwot, depending on how you want to say it, where the council has unanimously supported a motion backing the construction of a 400-metre synthetic athletes track for either Limestone Park or another suitable site, along with plans to develop an advocacy campaign to leverage initiatives connected with the 2032 Olympics to attract potential state and Commonwealth government funding to plan, design and construct the new track. Moreton Bay City Council are also revamping track and field facilities with an injection of $700,000 into Deception Bay Branch Little Athletic Centre's track and field facilities at Zamet Oval. The state and federal governments are also contributing over $1.5 million each to the project. Also in Deception Bay, the State Emergency Service has the promise of increased future capacity as ground has been broken on construction of a new $9.1 million SES depot. The new operational base will be 6 times the size of the existing facility and will feature enhanced operational areas, dedicated training and storage areas, and additional parking to support both SES activities as well as neighbouring community groups. Jumping to Logan, where a city initiative to boost the nighttime economy has been extended. A little while back, the Brisbane Channel had an update about Logan City Council's provision of free parklets, which are prefabricated structures combining decking and built-in seating to allow businesses to set up outdoor areas where patrons could enjoy the venue's offering into the evening. Initially, 2 businesses in Beenleigh and Underwood took up the program, but it's now been extended to Chatori in Underwood and the Coffee Cabin in Forestdale. Other interested Logan businesses are encouraged to get involved in the program, and I've put a link in the video description. Also in Logan, the City Council is increasingly using thermal drone surveying to monitor the wildlife in local reserves such as Spring Mountain Forest Park South and the Flinders-Karawatha Corridor. The technology gives a more comprehensive view of the populations of wildlife, including koalas and greater gliders. The thermal technology used is similar to some of the tools used by EPM Pest Control, the sponsors of this video, and they're offering viewers a completely free termite risk assessment, as well as a 10% discount on any of their services. I've seen them at work, and these guys really know their stuff. To make sure your home is safe from these destructive pests, click this QR code or the link in the video description. I'm excited about some updates that are coming to the Brisbane Channel. Obviously, there'll be the detailed examination of the situation with the Story Bridge, including how long it would be before it's too dangerous to keep using, as well as how much it would cost to replace it entirely. But there's also this series on Brisbane's most authentic banh mi starting soon. Apart from that, I'm exploring some pretty crazy sounding theories about some massive secrets buried in one of Greater Brisbane's LGAs, a deep dive into urban and suburban renewal, as well as a video where experts share their tips for dealing with the stress that life in Brisbane can bring. There's also a heap of other bigger projects in the works, so I'll see you in the next video.